Hello, hello, hello. Got my lights on today, so it's a little bit brighter in here. Hello, hello. This is Michelle Bradford, and I am here again with you guys. I am so excited to be here yet again. I missed out on my podcast last week just because it was Mother's Day and I did not feel like going live. So I am back today for episode 24. So first of all, I want to ask you all if you could please go and smash that like button. Could you please go and share this live stream? And then lastly, but not least, it's free. Can you subscribe to my channel? Can you send this to your mother, your brother, your sister, your cousin, your friend, somebody who needs some motivation or, that really wants to hear some real conversations about life. We're not playing around with we're going to just be pleasantries all the time. It's just going to be positive all the time because life is not positive all the time. Sometimes we have to work through some of the negativity, the toxicity, the immaturity until we get to a point in our life. So I am a perfect representation of somebody who has been through some hell, some high water, some craziness, some fear, some worry, some sickness, some mental illness, childhood trauma, and all kinds of stuff. So I'm about to just kind of share with you guys some stuff that I've gone through and just let you know that time brings about a change. So before we get started, so let me just tell you, if you don't know about this podcast, this is a real conversation, real motivation podcast where I dive deep into real conversations about life and sharing powerful testimonies. I am your hostess of the mostest. So every week I will bring you a refreshing topic or something particularly motivational that I hope that will help you navigate life's ups and downs and maybe help you with some real life challenges. But you know what? If not, I just hope that maybe something I says give you a boost of encouragement. It's important for us to work through these things. We can live in the trauma for our whole life. And I am proud, even though I'm 55, I've been able to get through, and get past a lot of trauma in my life because time, it's been 8 years since I've been in Florida, time is bringing about a change. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. Let me just tell y'all today, when you set your mind to do something, you do it. So I've been talking about moving out of Florida. I've made a lot of decisions, a lot of things, and I read people. And when I say that I had some alternative plans, and to me, they're not working out. I don't feel 100% confident in those plans. And so I had to make alternative plans. And I feel confident in those plans right now. So me moving to South Carolina is still on the table, but maybe next year. But right now, I want to go to Kansas City because there are some things that my mother is needed from me. And I want to be a representation of someone who has healed from my trauma. We've had some difficult times in our life. Me and my mother have had some difficult moments. Pretty much we grew up together. I struggled because I was not parented. My mother was a child when she gave birth to me. She was doing her thing. And so I was at many people's houses. My grandfather kept me, my uncle, my aunt, many people that I didn't know kept me. And so all I can say is that all of those things are water under the bridge and that we are bridging the gap of our relationship. And so when I tell you that time brings about a change, I am so proud of myself. I am so proud of my mother. I am so proud of where we are in our relationship that I am ready to go home. Just so you guys know, when I first came to Florida, it was an escape. But this wasn't my first time escaping. I had tried to escape multiple times from my relationship with my mother. The first time was when I went and I got married at 20 years old after knowing this guy for less than a year. I knew of him, but I was in a relationship with him for 11 months before I married him, and it lasted a month, and we got an annulment. He was a horrible human being. He was conniving, he was secretive, he was jealous, he was insecure, he treated me like crap, and he was cheating on me after a month if he wasn't doing it the whole time that we were together. It was all a facade, and I was very naive. I hadn't had a boyfriend before. I had never been with anybody, and he took advantage of that because he liked he dealt with young chicks, and he was everybody knows that this man was doing this, but nothing ever happened to him. And so I was pretty obedient at one point, but he realized real fast that the things that he was doing to me, it wasn't happening. So it lasted a month. And when he realized that he couldn't do the things that he wanted to do, he told me he didn't want to be married to me anymore. And I cried and I left. And all this time, I was sick with an unknown illness that I was hemorrhaging. I was in the hospital. He never came to visit me. He picked me up, took me to the hospital, dropped me off, never came back. He came back to pick me up, and that was it. I was so sick. And so when I tell you that that was the first time that I tried to get away. And he would say, "Your mother's not gonna let you come back. What are you gonna do?" Blah blah blah. He was trying to get in my head. So I went back to my mother's house. Well, the second time I tried to get away from being parentified because I had younger brothers and sisters. I was the caregiver of all of my brothers and sisters my whole life. My mother was doing her thing, and I was expected to be there, the free babysitter. And we even fought over that multiple times. And I would leave and go to my aunt's house. But the second time I went to California, I bought a round trip ticket to California to visit a friend. I ended up staying a couple of weeks, and then it was really sad because I met a guy and I came back home. Well, he bought me a ticket to come back to California, but at the same time, I had the girl that was my friend was doing all kinds of illegal stuff. I won't get into it because she is deceased. Her whole family's deceased except for one. And I don't want to get into that. I don't want to talk bad of the dead, but I will tell you that she did me so bad. She stole my identity. She got bills and apartments in my name. She was stealing clothes in my name. She was doing a lot of stuff. But in the beginning, I went there. I enjoyed my time. I ended up getting pregnant when they told me I couldn't have children because of the stuff that I had going on. So I didn't know I was pregnant for 4 months. But anyway, I got really, 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 really sick because at that point, I still didn't know that I had all these illnesses and symptoms. I didn't know I had all this stuff going on. So anyway, he ended up going to Korea. And guess what? At 6 months pregnant, I ended up coming back home at my mother's house again, and I struggled. So I always felt like I was responsible for everybody, including my mother. I never seemed to I didn't know what self care was. I didn't know about taking care of me. I was always the person taking care of everybody else but myself. I was taking care of my brothers and sisters. I was taking care of my mother when she needed me to look at paperwork, when she needed me to do something. I was doing it, paying her rent, getting her money orders. I'm sorry. There was another time. So before I got married, before I went to California, I went to college. Now, was I ready for college? Heck no. I struggled to get through high school. I barely made it through high school. I was not mature enough. I didn't know I had learning disability. I didn't know that I had dyslexia, and I stuttered, and I lasted a whole freaking semester in college, and I had to drop out because of my grades. Again, I'm back at home. So this is 3 times I've tried to get away. And so over the years, I just felt like I had to be there. I had to do what I needed to do. I wanted my mother to like me. I want her to love me. I want her to support me. I wanted her to love me. And I was a doormat. I let people walk all over me. I never expressed myself. I was really bad at communicating. And so I had a lot of resentment in my life, a lot of sadness in my life. I just kept being the yes girl, doing whatever anybody wanted me to do. And when I needed people to support me, I didn't feel supported. And so for years, I just struggled with being at my mother's house, trying to move away and moving back, just struggled back and forth because I was sick. And so The last time before I bought my house, I had moved into an apartment complex and it was terrible. I met a lot of nice people there, but it was Section 8, even though they told me it wasn't. And we had roaches and we had pedophiles there. My youngest son was getting bullied all the time, and he was special needs. He was trying to get jumped in by gangs at 7 years old. It was just a lot going on. And at the same time, I'm trying to go back to college. I am sick at work. I'm missing 4 and 5 days at work. So I'm at the point now where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose everything. I mean, I'm going to lose my apartment. So I got tired of living there and I signed up and I figured out I qualified for a house. And at the same time, when it was time for me to um, find a house, I was graduating with my associates. Well, I can tell you, my mother was not very nice when I um, finally found a house. They paid me pretty much to move in this house, but my mother wasn't very happy at the time because I told her no, she couldn't live with me. So she really made me suffer. I suffered a lot. I felt like a second class citizen. I'm being honest with you. It was not good for me. And I felt guilty because I had never told her no. She was not used to somebody telling her no, and she went full throttle on me. And I found out later that she would tell all of her friends about my new house, about my graduation, but she never congratulated me, and that made me feel so bad. And I just didn't understand what was going on. What did I do to make her treat me this way? So, me living, 30 minutes from her made a difference for me because I was able to separate myself to a degree. But then my stepdad took my mom's car because he needed it. So for a whole year, I took her to work. Well, when it was time for me to have her come and stay at my house and I had brain surgery, she refused. I was so hurt. I cried a lot. I was very sick. I almost died. I had brain surgery not even a year after I bought my house. I bought my house in March of 2010 and I had my surgery March of 2011. So it was almost a year to the day. And my mother was cutting up at the hospital, from what I understand, and she wouldn't come and stay with my son. So I ended up having to have my neighbors that I didn't even know. I had never met these people to stay with my son because I was in and out of ICU. Didn't feel supported. So for a long time, I was very upset. I was sad. Didn't feel supported. But while all of this was going on, I was toxic myself. So I can only tell you the stuff about what my mother did to me, but let me tell you about what I was doing. I was negative. I was nasty. I was jealous. I was pissed. And I lashed out emotionally to a lot of people. I lashed out to my family. I would go off. I lashed out to my sons. I would go off. I lashed out at work. I was sick all the time. And mentally, I would have really bad panic attacks. I would have, and I wasn't diagnosed. I was still trying to get diagnosed. I hit a wall. So all of these things are going on. I mean, it was just chaotic because I was having symptoms. I was passing out. I was in and out of the hospital. I was having ER visits. I didn't feel supported by my family or friends. I felt like life was just going on without me. And I just had to watch. I literally felt like I was standing at a bus stop and cars were just flying by. And the cars are a representation of my friends and family just going on vacation and getting married and buying houses and, kids graduating and them doing this and doing that. And there I was just standing there, barely making it, barely just trying to survive the next second. But I didn't know how to communicate it. But I will tell you that I had some angels that came to me along the way during my struggle. And there was some that I didn't treat very well. And in not treating them everywhere, it was like a domino effect because they all knew each other. We've known each other since eighth grade, so high school. And so people started alienating themselves away from me. And I started feeling like trying to pull them closer, and they were pulling away from me, making excuses of why they couldn't come see me, why they couldn't do this, why they couldn't do that. But at the time, I felt horrible. I felt slighted. I was so jealous of everybody and envious, and my life sucked. And then I was dating a guy. He didn't want to commit. He was doing shady stuff. But because he was love bombing me with gifts and money and picking me up, I let him get away with that stuff for a long time. But when I had right before I had brain surgery, I broke up with him. I was not going to continue to compromise my integrity and let you treat me the way you treat me. But after that, I let him back in. And guess what? He was there because he wanted to be Captain Save-A-Ho. Excuse me. And then when I got well enough to go back to work, I never saw him again. I never heard from him except for a couple times he reached out to try to get me to visit him, and I refused. When I asked him for some money, all them times I didn't have to ask. He gave me money. He did this and that. But when I really needed the money and I asked him, he refused. So that told me who he was. Now, at the time, I didn't know what a gaslighter was. I didn't know what a manipulator was. And I knew manipulation, but I didn't know manipulators and the different kinds. And also narcissist. He was one of those people that he would one-up you in everything you say. If you say something positive, he would one-up you no matter what. But the way he kept me is that I was a broke single mother, sick, had headaches all the time, and I was weak. And so that's what he was looking for. He needed a weak-minded, sick female that could not take care of herself so that he could be in there. Guess what? I never could travel with him because I was too sick. So he would go to these different places and do all kinds of stuff. I caught him. He don't know, and I'm not going to go into detail about him talking to girls and visiting females. I finally had enough, and I kicked him to the curb. So fast forward to living in my house, me and my kids having a combative relationship. My oldest son moved out. My youngest son, was having some difficulties, and in the end, I ended up by myself. Now, I'm going to tell you, I tried to have 2 people move in with me to help me with the rent because I really needed help. Neither one of them worked out either. And I could tell you that they didn't respect me. And the problem is that I used to just roll over and let people just step all over me. But when I got to the point where I was like, I'm not letting y'all do that, they felt like I was the worst person in the world because I wouldn't let them just talk crazy to me. So I ended up being in my house by myself. I needed that time. The healing started in the house by myself. I actually heard God speak to me, and he told me, it's time for you to purge your life. I was praying and asking him. I was like, Lord, I want to be a motivational speaker. I want to travel the world and help people. How can I do that? Well, how can I motivate somebody else when I'm going through all the stuff I'm going through? That's what I kept thinking to myself. And so time brought about a change because he told me to purge my life, and I thought that was purging stuff. But do you know that when you get rid of clutter, it clears your mind? Because you think about it, cleanliness is next to godliness. And if you have chaos in your home, spiritually, emotional, physical chaos, that's blocking your spirit from God. And so I started clearing out stuff and just selling stuff. And God, I remember God coming to me and telling me I was moving to Florida. And I'm like, Florida? I have never even been to Florida. I've only been to a couple of places. I've been to St. Louis by car. I've been to Vegas a couple of times with my mom for my birthday, but that was it. I've never been nowhere. Florida? I didn't question it. You know why? Because God had came to me in the previous years, I believe it was 2006 or 7. And he told me I was going to go to school, buy a house, and get married. I didn't believe it. But then the more I resisted, the more he pulled it to me. I ended up in school, and then I got a house. I haven't gotten married because that timing is in God's timing. He's trying to get me prepared for my life. And I truly believe that I'm in that place right now. But back to what I was saying as far as purging. Started getting rid of stuff, selling stuff, giving my kids furniture, doing whatever I need to do to get rid of stuff. And I ended up moving in with my mom again. After all those years of living on my own, living in an apartment, living in this house, living in there, I ended up moving in with my mom because I said, to myself, this will be okay because I'm going to move to Florida. I don't know how I'm going to get there. At the time, I was working for the University of Kansas Hospital. I had lost my job because I was sick, and part of that was anxiety. I would drive to work and be shaken and having panic attacks and not being able to work and stressed out. So I ended up losing my job, but I ended up finding a job with the VA, which was probably the worst job I ever had. The worst job. The government job was horrible. The rigmarole that I dealt with for several years was awful. So I was trying to figure out what I was going to do to move to Florida. How was I going to get here? What was I going to do? I mean, I just didn't know. I just really honestly didn't worry about it for a while. I applied for jobs that were equivalent to the one that I had at a place in Orlando. Didn't work. The CEO was blocking it because I was a troublemaker. I was disabled. I wanted to work from home full time, and they wouldn't let me, even though the government had Obama passed the Work Life Imbalance Act. They wouldn't let me do it. Well, after a while, they let me go home two days a week. That was helpful, but it was still a far distance to try to drive for me, taking medication and driving. So I just started working and working and working at my mom's. I moved out of my house. It sold within 2 weeks, 15 minutes into the sale. It was gone, sold, everything. I didn't get any money out of it. Basically, it was a wash. I had only been in there 5 years, and I just was like, fine. So I ended up going and just living at my mom's and just working. So within 2 weeks of living at my mom's house, all of this happened. The house sold. And then I ended up getting a call asking me if I was interested in applying for a job, being a consultant. I didn't know what that meant, but it sounded like it was going to be something good for me. I just didn't really understand what a consultant really meant. We know that patient accounting or looking for people. And at the time, I was trying to get out of the VA. If I stayed at the VA 2 more weeks, I would have been tenured, my retirement, everything. But they told me they needed me within a week. So it was either go and be a consultant or stay at the VA and be tenured in 2 weeks. But that would have took away the opportunity for the consulting. I knew that that was going to be my way to get to Florida. And I asked her, would you guys have a problem with me moving to Florida with this position? And they said no. That was my way in. But she said, you're only going to be making $10 an hour while you're in training. And I said, okay. So I'm not going to go into the details of what happened with the training. I think I want to have a separate conversation about that because there's a lot of things that happen through all of that. So I will tell you that I was able to stay with my mom when I came to town, but I was gone probably at least 5 days out of the week, 6 days out of the week. So sometimes I would stay in the city where I was at, and I never came home for weeks at a time. So it was perfect. My stuff was at my mom's house. My house was gone, and I could do what I needed to do. But some other things happened in between that, and I'll tell y'all about that in another session. But that was my way of getting to Florida. And when I finally was able to get a job here, and I won't go into details about all that rigmarole with the training and stuff, but I will tell you, I ended up getting a job here. I used to work in the office when I first started. And then after a few months, I was hybrid. So I could go to work, and they told me I could work whatever hours I needed. So I would work 5 o'clock in the morning to 1:30 every day. And this is where I'm at now. 8 years later, I'm in the same company. I love what I do. And we're 100% at home. And so all of these years, when I first moved here, I said I was never moving back to Kansas City. I hated it there. I hated all the stuff that I've been through as a child. I was put through so many things. Just wait until my book comes out. I was put through so many things, y'all. So many things as a child, so many things as a teenager, so many things as an adult, sickness wise, doctors, all that. So for me to actually be able to get a job and move to Florida by myself with no help, no furniture, but just boxes in Kansas City that my son sent me a few months later. I went in my apartment with 2 suitcases, and that's all I had. I've had to start over a lot in my life, and I'm okay with starting over. Sometimes you just can't attach yourself to stuff. And so I'm very proud of myself. Today I purged a whole bunch of clothes and shoes and all kinds of stuff in this apartment, and I've only been here a little over a year. But I'm at a place in my life I don't let myself be attached to stuff. I have to let go and let God. And so me being in Florida, all of that hate I was feeling about Kansas City, I did not go home for almost 3.5 years. Now, my mother did come to visit me. My son came, but I was still in my journey of healing, and it just wasn't time. Now, when my mother came, we had a lot of stuff to talk about, but it was a hard time because I still didn't know how to communicate with her all that well. But I did my best. We fought because she felt like she could say and do anything she wanted to. And I was like, you're not going to do that to me. So it was difficult, but after 3.5 years, I went home and I visited my family for the first time. I moved here October 2017, and I went home and visited my family for the first time, December 2020. I let go of my apartment. I put all my stuff in storage, which I wish I had never done that. I wish I would have just sold it or gave it away. But, and I went home. And I got to see my family for the first time, stay with my son, and it was cold as heck, but I enjoyed my visit. It was awesome. And when I tell you that that changed my life, that's when everything started changing for me. Time brings about a change. I had time to mature. I had time to heal. I had time to work through anxiety and depression. I had time to work through pain and suffering. And I'm going to tell you, it wasn't easy living here in Florida because some of the people that I encountered while I first moved here were worse than some of the things I ever been through in Kansas City in my life. Perspective. Wow. So I can tell you that God is good because I am so much stronger. I have removed the emotion that I used to let sit on my shoulder, everything and taking everything, and it's so everything and just da, da, da. And I started really looking and paying attention, listen to people's tones, and also learning that their life has boundaries and that it's okay to have boundaries, and it's okay to tell people no and not feel guilty. And it's okay that if it's not part of your story, that it doesn't have to be their story don't have to be part of yours. And also the self-care is not, it's a gift. It's a reward, and you deserve it. And that if people will manipulate you to try to get you to do what they want. But guess what? If it does not come from your heart, you are not obligated to do anything for anybody. Period. So I learned a lot, in this situation. I learned a lot about myself. I learned, I've been here for 8 years. I dated a guy when I first moved here, thought we were going to be in a relationship, but guess what? I hadn't been talking to anybody and dating anybody for 7 years before him. Yeah. And almost 8 years. And it lasted a month. He ended up being engaged, but guess what? He never married because he was not a good person. But he did help me navigate some things that I needed to find while I was here and to get around and tell me about the highways and the byways and different places. So I appreciate him as a tour guide, and that's it. But I will tell you, I haven't dated a whole lot that whole time until this year. Like when I moved in my new apartment, I dated a little bit, but for the most part, I haven't been in a relationship in almost 15 and a half, 16 years. I didn't realize how much I had put away. I've been working on myself. There's a lot of stuff I'm still working on, but when I tell y'all, as a late bloomer in this life, it's never too late to better yourself. You can be 70, 80 years old. It doesn't matter. You can be a good person if you want to be a good person. I tell people all the time, it doesn't matter what you believe in, what God you believe in. If you don't believe in God, if you're a good person, that's all that matters to me. And that's all that matters to humanity, being a good human. And so I've been working my hardest to be a better human and be better understanding and to treat people better and not talk about people, not be judgmental and opinionated. Because I used to be opinionated about everybody because I come from a place where everybody was talked about behind their back. Everybody was opinionated about what you did, what you look like, what you carry, what you this, what you that. So guess what? Habits die hard. I used to say to my roommate all the time, patterns, patterns, patterns. We have so many patterns in our life. It takes us how many years we've had these patterns because we were nurtured by our family, our mothers, our fathers. We were nurtured by the environment that we were in. And guess what? I always told myself I would never be like my mother because my mother liked men when I was growing up. And I remember seeing them coming out of the bedroom. And I said, I never wanted men around my children. I did that to a detriment to myself because after I did have somebody live with me that was not good to my kids, I refused to ever have anybody else in my home, and I never did. And so I've been alone for a long time, and I'm ready for my husband. And I know that I'm still working on myself to be better, but I am over the hump. I have been working hard on being a better person, loving myself more and self-care, doing the small things that make me a better person. And when I say that I'm not putting up with nobody's foolishness, and I don't even have to tell you that I'm not putting up with your foolishness, I just walk away. I don't have to give closure. I don't need it. Life is too short. But now I'm at a place that my friend died. My friend Donna. When I moved out of my apartment in 2020 in December, I went home to Kansas City and I was on vacation for a week or so. And then I was living with my son for about 28 days. And then I came back to Florida, 28 business days, not weekends. That doesn't count weekends. And I moved in with Donna because her boyfriend had passed away. But when I tell you that was a challenge relationship because she was a hoarder and she was kind of nasty. And I told her that, she got mad. And I had to show her. I'm like, you don't see these things? She was in her own sickness in her own time. And I'm going to tell y'all, sickness breeds laziness. Trust me. It does. You know, when you feel well, you're like, oh, thank God I feel better. Now you just want to rest. And so that's kind of where she was. But you know what? That was one of my best friends. She was 4'11", white woman with white hair. We looked completely opposite from each other, but she was one of my best. That was my sister. And that's when I realized that I was looking for companionship, friendship. It didn't matter if it was a man or a woman, as long as it was a friend that could have been a romantic or it could not be. But we hung out. We would go on vacations together. We would go on cruises. We went to the casino together. We went out to eat together. I would take her to see her sister, her aunt, not her sister, her aunt and her other aunt. She had two aunts that she hadn't seen in years. And I took her to see her kids. And when I tell you that we grew very close, and I truly believe that I learned a lot from her. I had to learn patience because I'd never lived with anybody other than my mother and my children. So, and that ex-boyfriend, I forgot about him. So let me just tell y'all, I loved her. I remember the last day she was alive, and I had her sitting in the living room with me. Her aunt had just died that morning. And I had to handle the conversation because she just couldn't handle it because she had a situation where this doctor almost killed her. She had 47 staples in her arm. She had a massive hematoma, and they told her she was either going to lose her arm or her life. She lost her life. So her aunt died that morning. That was her best friend. And I truly believe she gave up. But I had her in the living room with me, and we were watching TV. And I could just tell the way she was breathing. She wasn't doing good. And she wasn't hungry. She wouldn't eat. And I was really scared, but I was trying to be brave. And I remember when she was going to bed, she could hardly walk in her room, and she asked me to help push her on her cart. And she hated to be pushed on that little walker because her ex-boyfriend used to push her on the walker and he lost control. And so she wouldn't let me do it. I used to always tell her, sit down, let me push you. She wouldn't let me do it. But this night she did. she had to go to the bathroom and do number two. And I can't, I didn't go to college as a nurse because I couldn't deal with body fluids, the smells, I can't deal with any of that. So I told her, I said, I can't help you white, but I can help you get into bed. So I helped her get into bed, and she was just breathing heavy. And the next day I was working. The dog was just barking all night, but that wasn't unusual. He was a barker. He got on my nerves. I would hear her say, Toby, shut the Toby. So this particular night, I put my headphones in because I didn't feel like hearing him. So I didn't know that he was, he started out barking. I didn't know he was barking. I woke up, took my headphones off. He was still barking. So I'm working until 10:45, and then I went in her room, knocked on her door. Donna knocked on her door, opened the door, and she was in a fetal position with her eyes open. I will never forget that. Something broke in me because I'd never seen nothing like that before in my life. And then this is my friend. This is somebody that was my emergency contact, and I was hers because we didn't have nobody else here in Florida. It was just us. Even though her aunts and her kids were here, nobody really came to check on her. Her kids they hadn't visited her. Before I started taking her to visit them, they had not been to visit her. And so when I tell you that I tried to bridge gaps in her relationship because I knew she had stage 4 breast cancer, and she was going back and forth to the doctor, and that she had other diseases, and they thought she had colon cancer, but they never got a chance to diagnose it because they had to get the heart fixed. And when they went in to check the heart to make sure they could do the heart surgery, that's when they messed up her arm, malpractice. So that broke me. I was depressed for a long time. I lost 75% of my stuff in that house. And that's why I was like, I've started over yet again. Over and over and over, I started over. And so I realized I can't just keep stuff. Stuff is just stuff. And I went home to Kansas City again for a month because I needed my family. It's like God set me up to go in 2020. I ended up going on vacation with family and friends in 2022. And then I ended up going home after she died in 2024. February 19, 2024, her aunt died that day before. Technically, she died the same day. Her aunt died February 19th. And she died February 19th at 10:34 or 11 o'clock or something like that, the same day. I'm pretty sure she died of a heartbreak because she had told me she didn't know what she was going to do when her aunt passed away, and her aunt was on hospice, and she was on hospice for 8 months. So when I tell y'all that time brings about a change, I've been so depressed because I'm alone again. I don't have a boyfriend. I don't have a husband. I don't have any close friends here. I have people that I know that live here. They don't reach out to me, and I'm okay with that. They didn't reach out to me when I was friends with Donna. They don't reach out to me now. I have one friend every once in a while. She'll reach out, and, associate from Kansas City, she'll reach out and we might go to the beach. But for the most part, I'm here by myself. The people that I've encountered here, I really try not to be emotional about them. But it always seemed like I was always chasing people and trying to get them to talk to me. And I just got tired of it. And I just became a recluse. And I haven't been anywhere. I haven't done anything. When I first moved here by myself, I was everywhere, doing everything, having a good old time. And so this last year since she passed away, I really had a hard time because I finally met somebody that I got along with. I learned a lot. She was financially challenged. I was emotionally challenged, and we support each other. She taught me patience. She taught me how to accept people for who they are, no matter what they go through. Because I was just judgmental, man. I'm telling you, I didn't even realize how judgmental I was. But I would say stuff, and her room would be nasty. And I told her, I said, so we made boundaries. I said, okay, your room, you can do whatever you want, but beyond your room, we need to keep it clean. And for the most part, we did. We took turns. I kept the kitchen clean. She kept the living room clean. Sometimes I would have to pull the vacuum out, and as soon as I pulled it out, she knew that she needed a vacuum. But her bedroom, hot mess all the time. And I just had to accept that because that was her area. It was not mine. And so those are things that you have to learn how to accept. So I started being able to work through some of these things in my head. And I truly believe that God allowed me to live with her so I could be ready for my mate, because before that, I don't think I could have lived with anybody. But now I'm in a different place. And now I have the desire to date. I have the desire to meet somebody. And I actually, this year, I did meet a guy and I really liked him. I actually kissed him. I actually hugged him. We had a good time. We had two romantic outings. And then he sent me a Dear Jane letter saying that he came across somebody else and he liked her more and he didn't want to date more than one person. So he was sorry. That kind of hurt me. And I thought maybe that would put me back in the realm of not wanting to date people because of that. But all that did was just make me more determined that, you know what, I'm ready to put myself out there. I'm not afraid. I don't, I let that go. I did tell him that, a real man would have called me and told me and not text me it. If you were making plans with me for the weekend, you were hanging out with me just yesterday. I don't understand. And so he told me he agreed. He should have called me and told me. I was like, okay. And I blocked him and moved on. And so when I say time brings about a change, I thought about moving to South Carolina with my best friend, but I don't know that it's that time for me to go there. It just doesn't seem right. I don't feel like it's time. And so the more I talk about it, and then when I was supposed to go in January to visit to find a camper to live so I can rent our land, there was a blizzard, and I ended up having to sign a new lease where I'm at for another 8 months. I realized I don't think I'm supposed to go there. I realized that I need to go home. So when my lease is up, I'm going to move with my mother. I'm going to sleep on an air mattress and I'm going to help her fix her house up and I'm going to spend time with my family after 8 years of mental stress, childhood trauma of being hit by a car at the age of 6 and being sick my whole life, having a mother who was still growing and trying, and a child and not mature and in the streets and doing stuff, a person who lived in the office, the nurse's office every day of her life, pretty much never, barely graduated high school, in and out of the doctor's office, them telling me I was a hypochondriac, that I was a drug seeker, being addicted to, Percocet and Valium because I didn't know no better. I needed something to take away the pain. I'm in a place now where I'm doing natural healing, natural pain stuff, natural everything. And I know I have a lot of diagnoses and I know where I'm at, but there's a whole lot still going on and I'm not giving up. And so I share my story with you today about time bringing about a change. All of the changes that I went through, how I tried to get away so many times from my past, and it came back around again, and I'm right back where I am again. But this time around is different. I've had some really wonderful conversations with my mother. I went home last year for a month after Donna died. I went home again in October during the hurricane, and I'm going home in July for 2 weeks for the 4th of July. And I'm not working not one day while I'm there. I'm going to spend time with my family on vacation. And we're going to have a party and we're going to reunite and we're going to reunionize ourselves. And then in December, my lease is up and I'm leaving Florida for a while. I'm coming back, but I'm going to go and be with my family. I'm going to go and sleep on that air mattress in the living room. I'm going to work from her house and I'm going to make the best of a situation and share love and knowledge and understanding and care and all the above with my family because I miss them with my whole heart. So all of that time when I first got here and said I wasn't never going home, you can ask any people that I'm never doing. I can't stand it. Oh, they get on my nerves, blah, 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 and da, 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 da. I done got out and I moved away because I needed to. God was elevating me in order, he was separating me in order to elevate me. Yeah, because I was the problem. I had the attitude. I had the mental stress. I had the pain and sickness and suffering. I was emotional. And I just overall wasn't in a good place. And now I am. I'm ready. And I told my mother this, I wasn't in a good place. I was mad at everybody. And now I'm not mad and angry anymore. I don't hate anybody, because I could tell you, I got some really rough and tough family members, baby. Some of them, I don't even have a phone number. I don't even talk to them unless I come to town and they come to a gathering at my mother's house. But they are not the ones that's going to keep me. And they're not the ones that kept me from coming home. I kept myself from coming home. I needed to go through healing, and I'm still healing. Each and every day, I just thank God for another day, another hour, another minute, another second, that I am not still in the place I was. I'm still dealing with some things, but I'm so much better than I was. And I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to be with my family. I'm tired of being here. I'm tired of sitting on that patio being sad and crying and wanting to go home. I'm tired of being alone here in this apartment, sitting on my balcony every day, just not having anybody. I know I got Miss Mary. I went and saw her on Sunday, but she lives an hour plus away, and it's hard. Lonnie lives an hour plus away. I have my friend Nicole at work. She's really made my days so much better. She started at my job 5 months ago, and I've seen her probably more than anybody. But she's married with children. So I get to see her, sometimes. But I'm ready to have my own person. I'm ready to have my husband. I'm ready to have my boyfriend, my companion, that we can go traveling together, and we could go to New Zealand and to Fiji and to concerts and to do stuff together and hold hands and kiss. I'm ready for those things. And so I am open. I am ready. And so we are at the end of this podcast. I know there's somebody out there that may be going through what I'm going through. And I send you love and prayers, and know that time can bring about a change. You got to put in a lot of work. It's not going to be easy, but if you manifest it and you believe it and you pray, it can happen to you too. Just keep on praying, keep on believing, and just keep hope alive. Because I'm telling you, it's been rough, but I'm still here. So I ask God to touch you from the top of your head to your soles of your feet right now. And that anything that you're going through, that he sets free for you, and he sets free for me. And that I hope that this podcast, something that I said, resonates with you, that it helps you to get through. I pray for you each and every day, as much as I pray for myself. God bless you. And I hope that you come back and see me again real soon. Just remember, real conversation, real motivation, every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am here for you, and I thank you so much for your time. Much love. Take care. God bless.